I watched my 13-year-old son get dragged into a black van through a cracked security camera feed while sitting in a warehouse that smelled like rust and death. The timestamp read 7:32 p.m. 4 hours ago, and I had no idea until a stranger called me at 11:47 p.m. to tell me Kyle was being sold at midnight. Let me back up. My name is Dominic Harlow. I spent 15 years with the Federal Task Force interrogating human traffickers. 412 of them, to be exact. I know every lie they tell, every excuse they make, every pattern they follow. I've sat across from monsters who smiled while describing what they did to kids. I learned how they think, how they operate, how they move their products. I retired 6 months ago because I couldn't do it anymore. The faces haunted me, the ones we saved and the ones we didn't. Tonight, one of those faces belongs to my son. The phone call came from a blocked number. Voice distorted, mechanical. Your son's being sold tonight. Midnight. You have 1 hour and 13 minutes left. My beer bottle hit the floor. What did you say? Warehouse off Route 9, near the old meatpacking district. They took him from outside his basketball practice at 7:30. If you call the cops, they'll kill him and scatter. You know this, Mr. Harlow. You've seen it 400 times. The line went dead. My hands shook as I called Brooke, my ex-wife. She picked up on the 6th ring, annoyed. Dominic, it's almost midnight. Where's Kyle? Silence. Then, what do you mean? He's at practice. Coach Ryder extended it for playoffs. Practice ended at 7. My voice cracked. Where is our son, Brooke? I heard her moving, panic creeping into her breathing. He texted me at 7:45 saying he was grabbing food with teammates. I thought, show me the text. She sent it. My stomach dropped. The message was clean, perfect grammar. Kyle texts like every other teenager, broken English and zero punctuation. This wasn't him. Brooke, listen to me very carefully. Someone took Kyle. I'm going to get him back, but I need you to stay calm and do exactly what I say. She started crying. What? No, you're scaring me. What's happening? I don't have time to explain. Call his teammates. Find out who saw him last. And Brooke. I grabbed my old tactical vest from the closet, the one I swore I'd never wear again. Has anyone been following you? Anyone asking about Kyle? Any strange phone calls? There was a man. 3 weeks ago. He came to the house asking about you. Said he was from your old unit. Wanted to talk about a case. I told him you were retired. My blood ran cold. What did he look like? Hispanic, maybe 40, scar above his left eye. He seemed nice. Gave me his card, but I threw it away because, that's Mateo Cruz, I whispered. He's not from my unit. I put his brother away 7 years ago for trafficking. He died in prison last month. The pieces were falling into place, and each one made my chest tighter. This wasn't random. This was revenge. But why the anonymous tip? Why help me if this was payback? I strapped on the vest and checked my Glock. 15 rounds. I grabbed 2 extra magazines and my old interrogation notebook, the one with every pattern, every contact, every warehouse location I'd mapped over 15 years. Route 9, the meatpacking district. I knew that area. We'd raided 3 trafficking operations there between 2018 and 2021. The 4th warehouse, the one we could never get a warrant for, sat at the end of a dead-end road surrounded by abandoned buildings. That had to be it. I had 58 minutes. My truck roared to life, and I broke every speed limit getting there. On the way, my phone buzzed. Another text from Kyle's number. Dad, I'm scared, not Kyle. The grammar was right this time, but my son would have said, Dad, I'm scared, without the apostrophe. They were baiting me, keeping me emotional, unfocused. Classic trafficker psychology. Make the parent desperate. Make them sloppy. But they forgot something. I wrote the manual on this. I trained agents on how traffickers think. And now I was going to use every single thing I learned to tear their operation apart. I pulled up 3 blocks from the warehouse and killed the lights. The building was massive, 3 stories, windows blacked out. 2 men stood outside smoking, automatic rifles slung over their shoulders. Not cartel guys. Too relaxed. These were hired muscle. I couldn't go in guns blazing. Not with Kyle inside. One gunshot, and they'd execute him and vanish into whatever network they came from. I needed information first. And I needed it from someone who'd talk. I circled around back and found what I was looking for. A young guy, maybe 22, sitting on a crate smoking a cigarette alone. Skinny, nervous energy. Probably his first job. I approached from behind, quiet, and pressed my gun to his spine. Don't move. Don't scream. Not if you understand. He nodded, cigarette falling from his lips. Good. Now we're going to have a conversation. And if you lie to me, I'll know. I've done this 412 times, and I've never been wrong. Do you believe me? Why, yes. How many kids inside? 6. No, 7. They brought one more an hour ago. 7. My chest tightened. Kyle and 6 others. Where exactly? Second floor, northwest corner. They're locked in a storage room. How many guards total? 8. Plus the buyers start arriving at midnight. 11 minutes away. Who's running this? He hesitated. I pressed the gun harder. A woman. They call her Paige. She's scary, man. She doesn't mess around. Paige. I flipped through my mental files. Paige Northwood. I'd interrogated her 5 years ago on a smaller trafficking charge, but couldn't make it stick. She'd smiled at me the whole time, promised she'd see me again. Guess she kept her promise. Last question. Why did someone call me and tell me my son was here? He looked confused. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Nobody's supposed to know about tonight. So the caller wasn't part of this operation. Someone on the inside, someone with access, wanted me here. But who? And why? Imagine your child taken by criminals you spent 15 years hunting. Would you call police or go alone? Comment what you'd do. Dominic has 11 minutes before midnight to save his son Kyle. But here's the mystery. Someone on the inside called to warn him. Who helped him? And why? Drop your theories in the comments. I zip-tied the guard's hands and dragged him into the shadows. Then I stared up at the warehouse, at the blacked-out window on the second floor where my son was locked in a room with 6 other terrified kids. The clock on my phone read 11:52 p.m. 8 minutes until the auction started. 8 minutes until buyers arrived, and my son disappeared forever into a system I knew too well. A system where kids became ghosts. I checked my gun one more time and whispered to the darkness, "I'm coming, Kyle." Then I moved toward the building. Every interrogation, every case, every nightmare I'd ever lived through sharpening into a single purpose. Save my son, no matter what it takes. The side entrance was unlocked. Sloppy. These weren't professionals, just hired muscle working for someone who thought money bought security. I slipped inside, staying low, my back against the cold concrete wall. The warehouse smelled like oil and fear. I'd been in dozens of places like this. They all smelled the same. Voices echoed from the main floor. I counted 4 distinct speakers. Add the 2 outside and the one I'd already neutralized. That left 1 unaccounted for. Probably with the kids upstairs. My phone buzzed. Brooke calling. I silenced it and texted back. Can't talk. Keep searching for info on that man who came to the house. Check your bank statements. Everything from the last 6 months. Her response came 30 seconds later. Why my bank statements? Just do it. I moved through the shadows toward the metal staircase leading to the second floor. Each step had to be silent, calculated. One creak, and this whole thing collapsed. Halfway up, my phone lit up again. Brooke. But this time, it wasn't a question. Dominic, I'm so sorry. Then another message. There's $47,000 missing from our joint account. I didn't want you to know. My jaw clenched. $47,000. Our divorce had been finalized 8 months ago, but we'd kept one joint account for Kyle's expenses. College fund, medical bills, basketball gear. What did you do? I typed back. The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I have a problem. Gambling. Started after the divorce. I owed people money. Bad people. They said they'd forgive the debt if I gave them information about you. Everything clicked into place like pieces of a nightmare puzzle. The man who came to the house wasn't just asking about me. He was confirming details. where Kyle went to school, his practice schedule, when he was most vulnerable. Brooke had sold information about our son to pay off gambling debts. And now Kyle was locked in a room upstairs, waiting to be auctioned off to the highest bidder because his mother couldn't stop pulling slot machines at the casino. My hands shook with rage. I wanted to scream, to put my fist through the wall, to call her and tell her exactly what kind of monster she'd become. But I couldn't. Not now. Not with Kyle's life hanging by seconds. I reached the second-floor landing. A long hallway stretched ahead, doors on both sides. Northwest corner. That's what the guard said. Voices drifted from behind the last door on the left. A woman's voice, sharp and commanding. Get them cleaned up. Buyers will be here in 6 minutes. I want them presentable. No bruises visible. Cover anything that shows. Paige Northwood. I'd recognize that voice anywhere. 5 years ago, she'd sat across from me in an interrogation room and smiled while I accused her of trafficking. We didn't have enough evidence then. She walked free. Not tonight. Another voice, male, younger. What about the new one? The Harlow kid? He's still fighting. Sedate him if you have to. His mother's debt is paid. He's product now, just like the rest. Product. They called my son product. I steadied my breathing. Emotion was the enemy. I taught hundreds of agents that. Feel it later. Right now, you work the problem. My phone buzzed again. Brooke. They told me they just wanted information. They said they wouldn't hurt him. They promised they just needed to scare you. I'm calling the police, I typed back fast. You call the cops and they kill everyone in this building. I'm inside. I'm getting him out. But Brooke, after this, you and I are done. Forever. I didn't wait for her response. The door to the holding room was reinforced steel with a deadbolt. I couldn't shoot it open without alerting everyone in the building. I needed another way. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I spun, gun raised. A man stood at the end of the hallway, hands up, face half hidden in shadows. Hispanic, 40s, scar above his left eye. Mateo Cruz. Easy, Harlow, he whispered. I'm the one who called you. My finger hovered on the trigger. Give me one reason not to put a bullet in you right now. Because I'm the only reason your son is still alive. He stepped closer, slowly. My brother died in prison last month. You put him there. I wanted revenge. I helped Paige set this whole thing up. Your ex-wife's dead, the tip about Kyle's schedule, everything. Then why call me? His face twisted with something between shame and disgust. Because when they brought your kid in tonight, I saw my nephew's face. My brother had a son the same age. 13. I helped kill his father. And tonight, watching them prep these kids for sale. He looked away. I couldn't do it. This isn't revenge. This is evil. I wanted to believe him. But trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Prove it. Give me something useful. Paige has 8 buyers confirmed. They'll arrive through the loading dock entrance in 4 minutes. She's got 6 guards total left, all armed. The kids are sedated but conscious. Your son's fighting it, he's strong. But Harlow. His voice dropped. This isn't just about tonight. Paige is connected to someone bigger. Someone in law enforcement. She's been running this operation for 3 years with protection. Who? I don't know. She takes calls from someone she calls the captain. Never says a name. But whoever it is, they've been feeding her information about raids, investigations, everything. A corrupt cop high enough to access task force intel. That explained how Paige had stayed untouchable for so long. Help me get these kids out, I said. And maybe I don't kill you when this is over. He nodded and pulled a key from his pocket. This opens the holding room. But the second you open that door, the others will hear. You'll have maybe 90 seconds before they swarm this floor. Then I better work fast. He handed me the key. Our eyes met, and I saw something I'd never expected from a man who'd helped kidnap my son. Regret. Real, human regret. Mateo, I said. Your brother. I didn't want him to die in prison. I just wanted justice for the kids he hurt. I know, he whispered. I know that now. I turned the key in the lock. The deadbolt clicked open, impossibly loud in the silent hallway. Inside, 7 children sat huddled against the wall, eyes wide with terror. 6 of them looked drugged, barely conscious. But Kyle, my son, my strong, stubborn, beautiful son. His hands were zip-tied, his lip was bleeding, but his eyes burned with fury, not fear. He saw me, and his whole body sagged with relief. "Dad," he mouthed. I put a finger to my lips and rushed forward, cutting his restraints with my tactical knife. "Can you walk?" "Yeah," he whispered, voice shaking. "Dad, there are other kids, I know. We're getting everyone out. But Kyle, I need you to be brave for 2 more minutes. Can you do that?" He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Behind me, Mateo was cutting the other kids' restraints, whispering reassurance in English and Spanish. Then, from downstairs, a voice boomed through the warehouse. "Buyers are entering. Everyone to positions. Get those products down here now." Our 90 seconds were up. I looked at Kyle, at the 6 other terrified children, at Mateo standing with a knife in his hand and guilt in his eyes. And I made a decision that would either save us all or get us killed. "Change of plans," I whispered. "We're not sneaking out. We're going to war." I had 7 terrified kids, 1 reformed trafficker, 6 armed guards downstairs, and buyers arriving at the loading dock in less than 3 minutes. The odds were suicide, but I'd worked worse. "Mateo, how many exits in this building?" 3. Front entrance, loading dock, and a fire escape on the east side. "The fire escape. Does it work?" "Last time I checked, yeah, but it leads to an alley. If they hear us, they'll cut us off before we reach the street." I looked at Kyle and the other kids. They were shaking, some could barely stand from the sedatives. "We couldn't run. Not fast enough." "Then we don't run," I said. "We make them run." I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app where I kept digital copies of my old case files. 15 years of interrogations, patterns, psychological profiles. 412 traffickers, each one cataloged with their fears, their weaknesses, the things that made them break. Paige Northwood. I scrolled to her file from 5 years ago. Subject shows extreme control issues. Needs to be the smartest person in the room. Reacts poorly to chaos she can't predict. Fear response, abandonment by superiors. Exploitable weakness, her reputation. I had an idea. Dangerous, but it might work. "Kyle, listen to me. I need you and the other kids to go with Mateo to the fire escape. Wait there. Don't move until I come get you, or you hear sirens. Understand?" "Dad, no. I'm not leaving you. You have to trust me. I've done this before." I grabbed his shoulders, looked him dead in the eyes. "I will come back for you. I promise." He nodded, tears streaming down his face again. Mateo started herding the kids toward the east hallway. Before he left, I grabbed his arm. "If I don't make it out, you get them to safety. All of them. That's how you make this right." "I will," he said. And I believed him. I waited until they disappeared around the corner. Then I walked straight to the stairs and fired 3 shots into the ceiling. The warehouse exploded with noise. Shouting, footsteps pounding, weapons being chambered. "FBI, this is a raid. All exits are surrounded. Drop your weapons and get on the ground." Total bluff. I was one man with 15 rounds left. But they didn't know that. I ducked into a side room as gunfire erupted below. They were shooting blind, panicking. Good. Chaos was my friend right now. Paige's voice cut through the noise. "Shut up. Shut up. It's not a raid, it's one man. Find him. Smart. But not smart enough." I texted a number I hadn't used in 2 years. Agent Natalie Chun, my old partner from the task force. We'd parted on bad terms when I retired, but she was still one of the best agents I knew. Warehouse off Route 9, Meatpacking District. Active trafficking operation. 7 kids in danger. Need backup now. Don't trust anyone at the station until you get here. This goes higher than you think. I hit send and prayed she'd believe me. Footsteps in the hallway. 2 guards, rifles raised, sweeping room to room. I waited until they passed, then stepped out behind them. Dropped them. They spun. I fired twice. Both went down, non-lethal shots to the legs. I grabbed one of their rifles and kept moving. My phone buzzed. "Natalie, on my way. 12 minutes out." Don't die before I get there. 12 minutes. I had to keep Paige and her buyers contained for 12 more minutes. I reached the main floor and saw the chaos I'd created. For guards scrambling for cover, Paige screaming orders into her phone, and 3 well-dressed men near the loading dock trying to decide whether to run or stay. The buyers. Rich, entitled predators who thought money made them untouchable. I fired a round into the concrete near their feet. They scattered like roaches. Next person who moves gets a bullet. One of the guards popped up and fired. I dove behind a steel pillar, rounds sparking off metal around me. I returned fire, hitting him in the shoulder. Dominic Harlow. Paige's voice echoed across the warehouse. I remember you. You couldn't touch me 5 years ago, and you can't touch me now. I stayed silent, moving between cover points, always repositioning. Rule number 1 from tactical training. Never stay in one place. You know who protects me? She continued. You know how deep this goes? Your old task force is compromised. The person you think you're calling for help? They're probably on my payroll. She was trying to shake me, make me doubt. Classic psychological warfare. But I'd written that playbook. Maybe. I called back. But I know you're scared, Paige. I can hear it in your voice. Because this operation? It's burning down. Your buyers are running. Your guards are bleeding. And in about 10 minutes, federal agents are going to tear this place apart, including whoever's been protecting you. Silence. I'd hit a nerve. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. But the message made my blood freeze. Agent Harlow, this is Captain Victor Reeves. Stand down immediately. This is an authorized undercover operation. You are interfering with a federal investigation. Captain Reeves, my old commanding officer, the man who trained me, mentored me, signed off on every case I ever closed. The man Mateo said Paige called the captain. For 15 years, I'd worked under a corrupt officer who'd been protecting trafficking rings while pretending to hunt them. Every case we lost, every warrant that failed, every operation that somehow leaked to suspects before we arrived. It was him. All along. My hands shook with rage. How many kids had died because of his protection? How many traffickers had I arrested only to watch them walk free because evidence mysteriously disappeared? I texted back. Come get me yourself, Captain. Let's see how brave you are without your badge. Another buzz. Natalie, Reeves just called. Told me to stand down. Said you've gone rogue. What's really happening? Reeves is dirty. He's been protecting Paige for years. Don't trust anyone he sends. Just get here. And bring everyone who's clean. 3 dots. Then, copy that. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. I had to survive 8 more minutes. Paige laughed from somewhere in the shadows. You figured it out, didn't you? The captain's been very good to me. Made me very rich. And now you're going to disappear, just like everyone else who got too close. A door slammed open. More footsteps. Reinforcements arriving. I counted 5 new targets entering through the loading dock. That made 9 hostiles total, minus the 2 I'd already taken down. 7 against 1. I checked my ammunition. 10 rounds in the rifle, 8 in my Glock, 2 spare magazines. Not enough to win a gunfight, but maybe enough to survive until Natalie arrived. I pulled out my old interrogation notebook, the one with patterns and psychological profiles, and I found what I was looking for. A case from 6 years ago. Subject, Victor Reeves' nephew, arrested for trafficking. I'd interrogated him, got a full confession, sent the evidence to the captain for processing. The case disappeared. The nephew walked free. I'd always wondered why. Now I knew. And I had proof. Digital copies of the interrogation, the confession, everything stored in my cloud backup. I sent it all to Natalie with one message. Evidence Reeves is dirty. Use it. Then I stood up, rifle raised, and walked into the open. Paige, let's make a deal. The shooting stopped. Everyone stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. But sometimes crazy is the only thing that works. You've got 7 guards left. I've got enough ammunition to take down at least 4 of you before you kill me. And federal agents are 3 minutes away. So here's what's going to happen. You let those kids go, you surrender peacefully, and I'll testify that you cooperated. Might shave 10 years off your sentence." She laughed, cold and sharp. "Or I kill you right now and disappear before your friends arrive. Seems like an easier choice. Except your protector is about to be arrested," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Captain Reeves, the man who's been keeping you safe? I just sent evidence of his corruption to the feds. He's done, which means you're alone. And trafficking without protection? You'll be in prison for life." I saw fear flicker across her face. The thing she was most afraid of. Abandonment by her superiors. Being left to face consequences alone. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Check your phone. See if the captain's still answering." She pulled out her phone, dialed. I watched her face change as the call went to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. Because Natalie had probably already contacted him, and he was running. Last chance page. Surrender now, or go down with him. For 5 long seconds, nobody moved. Then she dropped her gun. "Stand down," she told her guards. "It's over." They hesitated, confused, but one by one their weapons lowered. Sirens wailed in the distance. Getting closer. Natalie and her team, coming in hot. I kept my rifle trained on Paige until federal vehicles screeched to a stop outside. Agents poured in, shouting commands, securing the building. Natalie found me first, her weapon drawn until she confirmed the scene was controlled. "Harlow, you insane son of a..." "The kids are on the East Fire escape with a man named Mateo Cruz. They need medical attention. And Natalie, one of them is my son." Her expression shifted from anger to understanding. "We'll get them. Are you okay?" I wasn't. I was shaking, covered in sweat, running on adrenaline and rage. But Kyle was safe. That was all that mattered. "Reeves?" I asked. "Already in custody. Your evidence was solid. He's done." Kyle collapsed into my arms the second I reached the fire escape. 7 kids, all safe, all crying. Paramedics rushed in, wrapping them in blankets, checking vitals. I held my son like I'd never let go. "You came," he whispered. "I knew you'd come." "Always," I said, my voice breaking. Natalie pulled me aside while medics worked. "We got Paige and her guards." "But Dominic, we have a problem." "What problem?" "Captain Reeves. He's claiming the evidence you sent was fabricated. Says you've been unstable since retirement, that you planted false files to frame him." My jaw clenched. "He's lying." "I know, but he's got 30 years of service, commendations, connections. This is going to get messy." She paused. "We found something else in Paige's phone. Text messages with someone called the broker. Someone bigger than Reeves, coordinating multiple trafficking rings across 3 states. I looked at Kyle being loaded into an ambulance. I wanted to go with him, hold his hand, never leave his side again. But if we didn't catch whoever was above Reeves, this would never end. "Show me the messages." Natalie pulled out an evidence bag with Paige's phone. I scrolled through the texts. Coded language, careful phrasing, but I'd read enough trafficking communications to decode it. One message stood out. "Harlow situation contained. Reeves will handle cleanup. Next shipment Thursday. Usual location." Thursday, 2 days from now. "They're moving another group of kids," I said. "Where's the usual location?" "We're working on it." "Paige isn't talking." "She will." I looked at Natalie. "Let me interrogate her. One more time. Dominic, you're too close to this. Your son was..." Which is exactly why she'll break. She knows what I'm capable of now, and she knows Reeves can't protect her anymore. Natalie hesitated, then nodded. 20 minutes. That's all I can give you." They had Paige in a holding room at the federal building, hands cuffed, lawyer already called. She smiled when I walked in. "Dominic Harlow, the hero. How's your son?" I sat down across from her, calm, controlled, alive. "Unlike your operation." "One operation. There are dozens more. You think you won tonight? You won nothing. I won my son back. That's everything." I leaned forward. "But you? You lost your protection, your buyers, your reputation. And now you're looking at life in prison. Unless you help me." "Help you?" She laughed. "Why would I do that?" "Because the broker is going to cut you loose. Just like Reeves did." You're a liability now. And people like that don't leave liabilities breathing. Fear flickered in her eyes. Good. You've got one chance, Paige. Tell me where the next shipment is happening. Give me the broker's real name. And maybe, just maybe, you survive this. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she leaned back and smiled. You're right about one thing. I am a liability, which means I'm already dead if I talk. So why would I help you? Because, I said quietly, I know you have a daughter. Her face went white. Don't. Emma, 16 years old, lives with your sister in Oregon. You've been keeping her away from this life, sending money for school, for college. You want her to have a better life than you did. How do you? I'm a good investigator. And here's what's going to happen if you don't cooperate. Your daughter is going to watch you go to prison for trafficking children her age. She's going to read every detail in the news. She's going to know exactly what kind of monster her mother is. And that's the legacy you leave her. Tears streamed down Paige's face. You bastard. Or, I continued, you help me stop the broker. You give me everything. And I make sure Emma knows you tried to make it right at the end. That you saved lives. That you chose her over them. She was breaking. I could see it. The shipment, she whispered. It's not Thursday. That was disinformation in case my phone got compromised. It's tomorrow night. Wednesday. An abandoned school in Newark. 40 kids being moved to a cargo ship at the port. 40 kids. My stomach turned. And the broker? She hesitated. Then, I don't know his real name. I swear. We only communicate through encrypted apps. But I know he used to be FBI. High level. He left the Bureau 5 years ago and went private. Started coordinating trafficking networks like a business. Former FBI. That narrowed it down, but not enough. Give me something else. Anything. He has a tell. In his messages, he always signs off with stay sharp. Every single message. It's like his signature. Stay sharp. My blood ran cold. I'd seen that phrase 1,000 times. In emails, in case files, in text messages. From my old partner. The one who trained me before Reeves took over. Agent Preston Kane. The man who retired 5 years ago with full honors. The man everyone respected. The man I trusted with my life. Preston Kane, I whispered. Paige's eyes widened. You know him? I stood up, my hands shaking. I worked with him for 8 years. All those cases we lost. All those operations that failed. I'd always blamed bad luck, bad timing. But it was him. Sabotaging from the inside. And when he retired, he took everything he learned and built an empire. I walked out of the interrogation room and found Natalie in the hallway. Call every available agent. Full tactical teams. We're hitting Newark tomorrow night. What did she tell you? Everything. And Natalie. I looked at her. The broker is Preston Kane. Her face went pale. That's impossible. Kane was, I know what he was. And I know what he is now. A monster we trained. And tomorrow night, we end him. I pulled out my phone and called Kyle at the hospital. He answered on the second ring. Dad. Hey, buddy. How are you feeling? Tired. Scared. But okay. He paused. When are you coming? I wanted to say now. I wanted to drop everything and sit by his bed all night. But 40 kids were being loaded onto a cargo ship tomorrow. 40 kids who'd disappear forever if I didn't stop it. Soon, I promised. I have one more thing to do. But Kyle, I need you to know something. You're the bravest person I've ever met. And I'm so proud of you. He started crying. I love you, Dad. I love you too. More than anything. I hung up and stared at the evidence board Natalie was building. Photos of Preston Kane, Captain Reeves, Paige, the warehouse, the kids we'd saved. And a map of Newark with a red circle around an abandoned school. 24 hours until the next shipment. 24 hours to plan a raid that could save 40 lives or get everyone killed. I'd spent 15 years hunting traffickers. Tomorrow, I was hunting the man who taught me how. The abandoned school in Newark looked like every other dead building in the area. Broken windows, graffiti-covered walls, weeds growing through cracked concrete. But I knew better. Evil always hides in plain sight. Natalie and I sat in an unmarked van 2 blocks away, watching thermal imaging from a drone overhead. 12 heat signatures inside. Adults moving in patterns. Guards. Where are the kids? Natalie asked. I studied the screen. Basement. They always use basements. Harder to escape. No windows. Soundproof. She nodded and radioed the tactical team. 20 agents ready to breach on your signal. But something felt wrong. Preston Kane had 30 years of experience. He knew how we operated, knew our tactics, our timing. It's too easy, I said. He's expecting us. You think it's a trap? I think he wants us to raid this location while he moves the real shipment somewhere else. I pulled up Paige's phone records again, scanning for anything we'd missed. There. A deleted text recovered from the cloud. School is the decoy. Real cargo moves at the port. Pier 17, 9 p.m. I checked my watch. 8:47 p.m. We've got 13 minutes, I told Natalie. Split the team. Half hits the school. Half comes with me to the port. That's risky. If you're wrong, I'm not wrong. Kane taught me to always have a backup plan. This is his. She made the call. 10 agents peeled off toward the port while the rest stayed to raid the school. I drove like my life depended on it. Because 40 lives actually did. We reached Pier 17 at 8:56 p.m. A cargo ship sat at the dock, engines running. Men were loading containers using a forklift. Too organized, too calm. That's them, I whispered. Natalie deployed agents around the perimeter. We go on 3. Non-lethal if possible. We need Kane alive. I spotted him then, standing near the ship's ramp, supervising the loading. Preston Kane. Gray hair, expensive suit, looking like a businessman, not a monster. Our eyes met across the distance. He smiled, then pulled out his phone. He's calling someone, I said. Move now. FBI. Nobody moved. Chaos erupted. Guards reached for weapons. Agents swarmed in. Gunfire cracked through the night air. I ran straight for Kane. He turned and sprinted up the ship's ramp. I followed, legs burning, lungs screaming. He disappeared into the cargo hold. I went in after him, weapon raised, every sense on high alert. The hold was massive, filled with containers. And from one of them, I heard it. Crying. Children crying. Dominic. Kane's voice echoed from somewhere in the darkness. Still playing hero? It's over, Preston. You're surrounded. He laughed. Over? I've got buyers in 6 countries. Operations in 12 states. You think shutting down one shipment stops me? I moved toward his voice, using containers for cover. Why? You were a good agent. You saved lives. What happened to you? I got tired of being poor while criminals got rich. 15 years watching traffickers make millions while I scraped by on a government salary? I deserved better. So you became worse than them. I spotted movement, fired a warning shot. You sold kids, Preston. Kids. I facilitated business transactions. There's a difference. I came around a corner and found him standing next to a container. His hand was on a lever. This container has 23 children inside, he said calmly. I opened this valve. It floods with seawater in 90 seconds. Drop your weapon or they drown. My heart stopped. You wouldn't. I've done worse. You know I have. His finger touched the lever. Weapon down. Now. I had no choice. I set my Glock on the ground and raised my hands. He smiled. Good. Now we're going to walk out of here together. You're my insurance policy. The FBI will never let you leave. They will when I threaten to open every valve in this hold. 47 kids, Dominic. All dead in minutes unless they give me safe passage. He was insane. Completely, utterly insane. But he'd made one mistake. He'd taught me everything he knew about negotiation, about reading people, about finding weakness. And I saw his weakness now. Pride. He needed me to know how smart he was, how he'd outsmarted everyone. The school was brilliant, I said, keeping him talking. Perfect decoy. How did you know we'd fall for it? He couldn't resist. Because I trained you to think like that. Obvious target, easy bust. You're predictable, Dominic. You always have been. Behind him, I saw movement. Natalie, creeping through the containers, weapon drawn. I kept his attention on me. What about Reeves? Was he always part of this? Reeves was an idiot who got greedy. Useful but sloppy. That's why I let you catch him. He was becoming a liability. Like Paige. Like everyone eventually. He shrugged. That's business. Natalie was 3 feet behind him now. One more question, I said. Did you ever actually care about any of us? Your team, your agents, the victims? For a second, something flickered in his eyes. Something human. Once, he whispered. A long time ago. But caring doesn't pay bills. Drop the weapon. Natalie shouted, gun pressed to his head. Kane's hand jerked toward the lever. I lunged forward, tackling him away from the container. We hit the ground hard. He swung at me, caught my jaw. I returned with an elbow to his ribs. Natalie grabbed him, cuffed him, yanked him to his feet. Preston Kane, you're under arrest for human trafficking, conspiracy, and about 100 other charges I'm going to enjoy writing up. I ran to the container and opened it. 23 kids, terrified but alive, stared up at me. It's okay, I said, voice shaking. You're safe now. We're taking you home. Medical teams rushed in, along with social workers, translators, trauma specialists. Each child was gently helped out, wrapped in blankets, given water. Natalie walked Kane past me in cuffs. He looked at me one last time. You haven't won, Dominic. There are others. Bigger than me. This never ends. Maybe not, I said. But tonight, it ended for these kids. And that's enough. They loaded him into a federal vehicle. I watched the taillights disappear and felt something crack inside me. Relief. Exhaustion. Grief for the man he used to be. My phone buzzed. Kyle calling from the hospital. Dad? I saw the news. They're saying you stopped another trafficking ring. Yeah, buddy. We did. When are you coming home? I looked at the 47 children being loaded into ambulances, heading toward safety, toward healing, toward a future they almost lost. Right now, I said. I'm coming home right now. Kyle was sitting up in his hospital bed when I walked in. Bruises on his wrists from the zip ties, exhaustion in his eyes, but alive. So beautifully alive. Dad. He broke into tears the second he saw me. I wrapped him in my arms and held him like I should have held him every day of his life. I'm here. I'm not leaving. Mom called. She's been crying for hours. She said it's her fault. I pulled back, looked at him. Kyle, what your mother did was wrong. But what happened to you wasn't your fault. You understand that. He nodded, wiping his eyes. The man who helped us. Mateo. He stayed with us on the fire escape until the agents came. He kept telling us we'd be okay. Why did he help us if he was part of it? Good question. One I've been asking myself. Sometimes people make terrible choices. And sometimes they get a chance to make it right. Mateo took that chance. Will he go to jail? Probably. But maybe not for as long as he would have. I squeezed Kyle's hand. The important thing is you're safe. All of you are safe. A knock on the door. Natalie walked in, looking exhausted but relieved. Sorry to interrupt. Dominic, we need to talk. I kissed Kyle's forehead. I'll be right back, buddy. Get some rest. Out in the hallway, Natalie's expression shifted to something darker. We've got a problem. Preston Kane's lawyer is claiming the arrest was illegal. Says we had no warrant for the port, no probable cause. That's insane. We saved 47 kids. I know. But Kane's got connections, expensive lawyers. They're arguing the entire case should be thrown out. She paused. There's more. We found financial records in Kane's offshore accounts. Payments to law enforcement, judges, politicians. This goes way deeper than we thought. My stomach dropped. How deep? Deep enough that the Bureau is launching an internal investigation. They're auditing every case Kane ever touched, every operation he supervised. Dominic, they're looking at our old cases too. 15 years of work. Hundreds of arrests. All potentially compromised. How many traffickers could walk free because of this? We don't know yet. Could be dozens. Could be more. I slumped against the wall, the weight of it crushing me. We'd saved lives tonight. But how many had we failed to save because Kane was sabotaging us from the inside? My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Heavy breathing. Then a voice I recognized. Mateo Cruz. Harlow, you need to listen to me. You're in danger. How did you get this number? Doesn't matter. What matters is Kane wasn't working alone. There's someone else. Someone higher up who coordinated everything. My blood ran cold. Who? I don't know the name. But I heard Kane talking to them on the phone once. Called them the architect. Said this person built the entire network. That Kane was just middle management. Middle management. Preston Kane, with 30 years of FBI experience, was middle management. Why are you telling me this? Because the architect knows you took down Kane. And they're cleaning house. Everyone who could expose them is being eliminated. Page, Reeves, Kane's lawyers. They're all targets. He paused. And so are you. The line went dead. I looked at Natalie. We need protective details on everyone involved in this case. Now, what's going on? Kane was working for someone bigger. Someone called the architect. And they're tying up loose ends. Before Natalie could respond, her phone rang. She answered, her face going pale. When? Where? Copy that. She hung up, looked at me with horror. Paige Northwood was found dead in her cell 20 minutes ago. Apparent suicide. Hung herself with a bedsheet. That's not suicide, I said. That's a hit. My mind raced. If the architect could reach Paige inside a federal holding cell, they could reach anyone, including Kyle. I ran back into the hospital room. Kyle was asleep, monitors beeping steadily. I grabbed the nurse outside. I need armed security on this room. Now, nobody gets in except cleared medical staff. Sir, we can't just... Natalie flashed her badge. FBI. Do it. Within minutes, 2 federal agents were stationed outside Kyle's door. I sat in the chair next to his bed, gun in my lap, watching the shadows. Natalie paced the room. If the architect is real, if they're as connected as Mateo says, then we're dealing with someone who has access to federal facilities, law enforcement databases, everything. Someone inside the bureau, I said quietly. High enough to coordinate operations across multiple states, to pay off judges and politicians, to order hits inside federal custody. That's paranoid thinking, Dominic. Is it? 24 hours ago, I would have said Preston Kane being a trafficker was paranoid. Now I'm watching my son sleep in a hospital bed because my ex-wife sold information to pay gambling debts to the same network Kane was running. She stopped pacing. What do? We find the architect. Before they find us. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. Just a photo. It was me, sitting in Kyle's hospital room. Taken from outside the window. Below the photo, you should have stayed retired, Dominic. I jumped up, looked out the window. Nothing but darkness and city lights. Whoever took that photo was long gone. But the message was clear. They knew where we were. They could get to us anytime they wanted. Natalie saw the photo, immediately radioed for building security. Lock down this floor. Nobody in or out without clearance. I woke Kyle gently. Hey buddy, we need to move you to a different room. Safer location. Dad, what's happening? Nothing for you to worry about. Just being cautious. We moved him to an interior room with no windows, doubled the guard detail, and I called in every favor I had to get the best protection available. But deep down, I knew the truth. The architect wasn't going to stop. They'd built an empire on the suffering of children, and we'd just burned part of it down. They were coming for all of us. And I had no idea who they were. Natalie sat next to me as Kyle fell back asleep. How do we fight an enemy we can't see? She whispered. I thought about Mateo's call, about Paige's death, about the photo of me sitting in this room. We use Kane, I said. He knows who the architect is. He has to. And if his lawyers are trying to get him out, that means he's still valuable to them. You want to talk to him? I want to make him a deal. His life for the architect's name. Because right now, Kane's just as much a target as we are. She nodded slowly. That's risky. If the architect finds out, then we move fast. Tomorrow morning, before they have time to reach him. I looked at Kyle, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger circling us. I'd spent 15 years hunting monsters. Now the biggest monster of all was hunting me. But I'd made a promise to my son. I'd keep him safe, no matter what it took, even if it meant walking into the fire myself. Preston Kane sat in a federal interrogation room, hands cuffed to the table, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Good. Neither had I. Dominic Harlow, he said with a tired smile. Come to gloat. Come to make a deal. I sat across from him, Natalie standing behind me. You're a dead man, Preston. You know that, right? Threatening a federal prisoner? That's not like you. I'm not threatening you. The architect is. Paige is dead. Hung in her cell. Your lawyers are probably next. And then you. I leaned forward. Unless you give me a name. His smile faded. Even if I wanted to talk, which I don't, you couldn't protect me. Maybe not. But I can make sure your daughter knows you tried to do the right thing at the end. Emily, isn't it? 22 years old, graduate student at Stanford. Beautiful girl. Smart. Nothing like you. His jaw clenched. Leave her out of this. She's already in it. The architect knows about her. Just like they knew about Paige's daughter. You think they won't use her to keep you quiet? Preston's hands shook. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. If I talk, we're both dead. Emily too. If you don't talk, the architect wins. Keeps trafficking kids. Keeps destroying lives. And your daughter spends the rest of her life knowing her father died a monster. I slid a piece of paper across the table. Or you give me the name, we take them down together, and maybe you get to be a father one last time. He stared at the paper for a long moment. Then he picked up the pen. Deputy Director Adrian Wolf, he whispered. FBI headquarters. He's been running the network for 12 years. The room went silent. Adrian Wolf, second highest ranking official in the entire bureau. The man who oversaw thousands of agents, hundreds of operations, billions in funding. That's impossible, Natalie said. Wolf has presidential commendations. He's untouchable. That's exactly why he's perfect, Preston said bitterly. Nobody would ever suspect him. He's got access to everything. Knows every investigation before it starts. Controls evidence, manipulates cases, protects whoever he wants. He looked at me. You think you can take him down? You can't. He owns half the bureau. Then we use the half he doesn't own. I stood up. Write down everything. Every payment, every operation, every person he's connected to. You do that, and I'll make sure Emily knows you helped us. Preston started writing. Pages and pages of names, dates, account numbers. Evidence that would bring down the biggest trafficking network in U.S. history. When he finished, he looked up at me with hollow eyes. Dominic, I'm sorry. For everything. For what I became. For what I did to those kids. Save it for the judge, I said. Your sorry doesn't bring them back. We left him there, guarded by agents we trusted. Outside, Natalie looked shaken. If Wolf is really the architect, how do we arrest him? He'll see us coming from a mile away. We don't arrest him. Not yet. I pulled out my phone and called the one person I knew could help. Agent Blake Morrison, director of the FBI's Internal Affairs Division. A man who'd spent 30 years hunting corrupt agents. He answered on the second ring. Harlow, I heard you came out of retirement. Messy business with your son. Blake, I need your help. And you need to trust me on this. Deputy Director Wolf is dirty. Long silence. That's a serious accusation. I have evidence. Financial records, testimony from Preston Kane, connections to trafficking operations across 3 states. But if we move through normal channels, Wolf will bury it. What do you need? A task force. Agents you trust completely. People Wolf doesn't control. We build a case in secret, then hit him all at once before he knows what's happening. That'll take time. Weeks, maybe months. We don't have months. He's cleaning house. Everyone connected to his network is being eliminated. We move now, or we lose everything. Blake was quiet for a moment. Then, I'll assemble a team. 24 hours. Meet me at the safe house on Riverside. Come alone. He hung up. Natalie looked at me. You trust him? Blake's investigated more corrupt agents than anyone in the bureau. If anyone can do this, it's him. My phone buzzed. Text from Brooke. Kyle's asking for you. Can you come back? Go, Natalie said. Be with your son. I'll coordinate with Blake's team. I drove back to the hospital, exhausted, running on coffee and adrenaline. Kyle was awake, looking stronger. Hey, Dad. The doctor says I can go home tomorrow. That's great, buddy. I sat next to his bed. How are you feeling? Scared, but better when you're here. He paused. Dad, what happened to the other kids? The ones who were with me. They're safe, getting help, going back to their families when they can. What about the ones who don't have families? Good question. One that haunted me every day. There are people who help. Social workers, counselors, foster families. They'll make sure those kids are taken care of. When I'm older, Kyle said quietly, I want to help kids like that. Kids who got hurt. My chest tightened with pride. After everything he'd been through, he wanted to help others. You're going to do amazing things, Kyle. I know it. He fell asleep holding my hand. I watched him breathe, steady and peaceful, and thought about all the kids we'd saved. And all the ones still out there, trapped in the architect's network. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Against every instinct, I answered. Dominic Harlow. You're persistent. I'll give you that. The voice was smooth, confident. A voice I'd heard dozens of times at bureau meetings. Deputy Director Adrian Wolf. I know who you are, I said, stepping into the hallway. Of course you do. Preston gave me up. Predictable. But here's what you don't know. I have agents watching your son right now. Watching your ex-wife. Watching Agent Shun. One phone call, and they all disappear. My blood turned to ice. Touch them, and what? You'll arrest me? With what evidence? Preston's testimony? He's a convicted trafficker. No credibility. Financial records? I've got lawyers who'll bury that in court for years. You've got nothing, Dominic. I've got the truth. He laughed. The truth? The truth is I've built something extraordinary. A network that operates in 12 countries, generates billions in revenue, and operates with complete impunity. And you think you can stop it? I've stopped you before. I'll do it again. No, you won't. Because I'm giving you a choice. Walk away now, retire quietly, and your family lives. Keep digging, and I'll destroy everyone you love. Starting with Kyle. The line went dead. I stood in that hospital hallway, shaking with rage and fear, and realized I was trapped. If I backed down, Wolf kept trafficking kids. If I kept fighting, my son died. There had to be another way. There had to be. I called Blake Morrison back. Change of plans. We don't have 24 hours. We move tonight. And Blake. My voice hardened. Whatever happens, my son stays protected. That's non-negotiable. Understood. I'll send a team to the hospital now. Within the hour, Kyle's room was surrounded by internal affairs agents. People Wolf didn't control. People Blake trusted with his life. I kissed Kyle's forehead one more time. Where are you going, Dad? To finish this. Once and for all. Blake Morrison's safe house was an old brick building in a forgotten part of the city. Inside, 12 agents surrounded a conference table covered in evidence. This is everything Preston Kane gave us, Blake said, spreading out documents. Financial records, communications, witness statements. Enough to bury Wolf for life. I studied the files. 12 years of corruption. Hundreds of victims. Billions in illegal profits. How do we take him down without him knowing? We don't. Blake pulled up surveillance footage on a laptop. Wolf's already moving. He cleared out his office 3 hours ago. Transferred funds offshore. He knows we're coming. Natalie cursed. Where is he now? We tracked his phone to a private airfield outside the city. He's got a jet fueled and ready. If he gets on that plane, we lose him forever. I checked my watch. 11 p.m. How long until he takes off? Flight plan says midnight. 43 minutes. Not enough time for a warrant, for backup, for proper procedure. We had to move now. Let's go, I said. Blake assembled a team of 8 agents, all people he trusted absolutely. We loaded into 3 vehicles and raced toward the airfield. My phone rang. Kyle. Dad, where are you? The nurses said you left. I'm working, buddy. I'll be back soon. You promised you wouldn't leave. His voice cracked. You promised. My heart broke. Kyle, I have to finish this. One more night. Then I'm done. I swear. Silence. Then he hung up. I stared at the phone, hating myself. But if Wolf escaped, this would never end. We reached the airfield at 11:34 p.m. A private jet sat on the runway, engines warming up. 2 armed guards stood at the entrance. FBI. Blake shouted, flashing his badge. Stand down. The guards reached for their weapons. Our agents fired first, non-lethal rounds. Both men dropped. We rushed the jet. The cabin was empty except for one person. Not Wolf. A woman in her 30s, terrified, hands raised. Where is he? I demanded. I don't know. He paid me to sit here. Said it was a decoy. Decoy. We'd been played. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number with a photo attached. Kyle's hospital room. Empty. Bed sheets thrown back. Guards unconscious on the floor. Below the photo. You should have taken my deal, Dominic. My world stopped. They took Kyle, I whispered. Natalie grabbed my arm. What? I showed her the photo. Her face went pale. Blake was already on the radio. All units to Memorial Hospital. We have a kidnapping. I ran to the car, Natalie right behind me. We drove like demons, sirens wailing, lights flashing. My phone rang. Wolf. Where is he? I screamed. Safe. For now. Depends on whether you're smart enough to walk away. I swear if you hurt him, you'll what? You've got no leverage, Dominic. No proof I'm involved. Your son simply disappeared from a hospital full of federal agents. Embarrassing, really. What do you want? All the evidence Kane gave you. Every file, every document. You destroy it. I return your son. Simple exchange. My mind raced. Without that evidence, Wolf walked free. Kept trafficking. Kept destroying lives. But Kyle, I need proof he's alive. Rustling. Then Kyle's voice, terrified. Dad. Kyle, are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm scared, Dad. I don't know where. The phone was yanked away. Wolf again. You have 2 hours. Bring the evidence to Pier 23. Come alone. Any agents, any backup, and I put a bullet in his head. The line went dead. We reached the hospital. Chaos everywhere. Agents down, security footage wiped, no witnesses. Wolf's people had done this perfectly. Blake pulled me aside. We can track him. Set up surveillance at the pier. Take him down when no. My voice was ice. He'll kill Kyle the second he sees backup. Then what do you want to do? I looked at Natalie. At Blake. At the evidence that could save hundreds of kids. And I made the hardest choice of my life. I'm giving him what he wants. My son comes first. Dominic, if Wolf gets away, then he gets away. I don't care about the case anymore. I care about Kyle. Natalie stepped close. There's another option. We let you make the exchange. But we track you. Hidden GPS, audio feed. You get Kyle to safety, we move in. He'll search me. Find any device I'm carrying. Not if it's surgically implanted. Blake pulled out his phone. We've got a tech at headquarters who can do it. 30-minute procedure. GPS tracker the size of a grain of rice, injected under your skin. Wolf would never find it. I looked at the clock. 1 hour 47 minutes until the exchange. Do it, I said. The procedure hurt like hell, but 30 minutes later, I had a tracker under my skin behind my left ear. Blake tested it. Perfect signal. We'll stay 2 blocks away, he said. The second Kyle's safe, we come in. I nodded, grabbed the evidence files, and drove to Pier 23 alone. The pier was abandoned, industrial, perfect for an ambush. I parked and walked to the edge, evidence bag in hand. Wolf emerged from the shadows, Kyle beside him, hands zip-tied, tears streaming down his face. Dad, I'm here, buddy. It's going to be okay. Wolf smiled. The evidence. Show me. I held up the bag. Let him go first. You're not in a position to negotiate. He pressed a gun to Kyle's head. My heart stopped. Every instinct screamed to rush him, to fight, to do something. But I couldn't risk Kyle's life. Okay. Here. I tossed the bag at his feet. Wolf checked the contents. Satisfied, he shoved Kyle toward me. I caught my son, held him tight. Run to the car. Go. Kyle ran. I turned to face Wolf. He raised his gun. You know I can't let you live, right? You're a loose end. Then pull the trigger. He smiled. Gladly. The shot rang out. I flinched, waiting for pain. But it never came. Wolf dropped, blood blooming from his shoulder. Behind him, Mateo Cruz lowered a rifle. We're even now, Harlow, Mateo shouted, then disappeared into the night. Federal vehicles swarmed the pier. Agents surrounded Wolf, cuffing him, reading his rights. Natalie ran to me. You okay? Yeah. Kyle. Safe. Blake's got him. I found my son in Blake's car, shaking but alive. I held him and didn't let go. It's over, I whispered. Finally over. But as they loaded Wolf into a federal vehicle, he looked at me and smiled. You think this ends with me? He called out. I'm just one piece. The network is bigger than you can imagine. The doors slammed shut, but his words echoed in my head. 3 weeks later, Adrian Wolf sat in a federal courthouse, facing a judge and a jury of 12. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, testimonies, rescued victims. He was going away for life. I sat in the gallery with Kyle beside me, watching justice unfold. My son squeezed my hand. It's really over? He whispered. Yeah, buddy. It's over. But something felt wrong. Wolf sat too calm, too confident, like a man who knew something we didn't. The prosecutor called me to the stand. I testified about the rescue, the evidence, everything. When I finished, Wolf's lawyer stood. Mr. Harlow, you claim my client ran this trafficking network. But isn't it true you have a personal vendetta against law enforcement? No. Didn't you retire early due to mental health issues? Paranoia? Distrust of colleagues? My jaw clenched. I retired because I was burned out. Or because you couldn't handle the pressure. And when your son was kidnapped, you fabricated evidence to blame my client. That's a lie. The judge intervened. Counselor, do you have evidence of fabrication? I have reasonable doubt, Your Honor. Reasonable doubt that my client is the mastermind Mr. Harlow claims. The trial continued for days. Wolf took the stand, calm and composed, denying everything. His lawyers twisted every fact, questioned every witness. And slowly, I saw the jury's faces change. Doubt creeping in. On day 7, Natalie pulled me aside during recess. We have a problem. 3 jurors are leaning toward acquittal. Wolf's lawyers are good. How is that possible? We have his confession on tape. His lawyers are arguing coercion. That you threatened him at the pier. That everything was extracted under duress. I wanted to scream. After everything, Wolf might walk free. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every conversation, every piece of evidence. And something Wolf said at the pier haunted me. I'm just one piece. The network is bigger than you can imagine. If Wolf wasn't the top, who was? I pulled out Preston Kane's files again, studying every name, every connection. And I found something I'd missed before. A series of payments. Large sums, sent monthly to an offshore account. But the account holder wasn't Wolf. It was someone else. Someone with access to everything. Someone who'd been there from the beginning. My blood turned cold. Blake Morrison, Director of Internal Affairs. The man I'd trusted to help me take down Wolf. I called Natalie immediately. Don't trust Blake. He's the real mastermind. What? Dominic, that's insane. Blake helped us arrest Wolf. Exactly. He fed us Wolf to protect himself. Think about it. Blake had access to every investigation, every operation. He could shut down any case that got too close. And when we started digging, he gave us Wolf as a scapegoat. Silence on the line. Then, meet me at the federal building. Now, don't tell anyone. 20 minutes later, we sat in a secure room, going through Blake's financial records. The pattern was undeniable. 12 years of payments. Millions of dollars flowing through offshore accounts. He's been running this the whole time, Natalie whispered. Using Wolf as a front. Using all of us. My phone rang. Blake. Dominic, we need to talk. Alone. Meet me at the warehouse on 5th Street. 1 hour. Why? Because I know you found the accounts. And I know what you're thinking. But you're wrong. Let me explain. He hung up. Natalie looked at me. It's a trap. Probably. But it's also our only chance to get a confession. I checked my gun. Wire me up. Full surveillance. You stay 2 blocks away with a tactical team. Dominic, we end this tonight. An hour later, I walked into the abandoned warehouse. Blake stood in the center, hands in his pockets, looking tired. You figured it out, he said quietly. Took you longer than I expected. Why, Blake? You were supposed to be one of the good ones. I was. For 30 years, I hunted corrupt agents. Put away dozens of them. And you know what I realized? The system is broken. Traffickers make billions while we make nothing. So I decided to stop fighting it and start profiting from it. By trafficking kids. My voice shook with rage. By facilitating business. There's a difference. That's what Wolf said. Same excuse. Blake smiled sadly. Wolf was useful. A puppet I could control. But when you started digging, I knew he'd eventually give me up. So I helped you arrest him. Made myself look like a hero. And now, with him in custody, I'm free to rebuild. Not if I expose you. With what evidence? Those offshore accounts? They're untraceable. Kane's testimony? He's a convicted trafficker. No credibility. You've got nothing, Dominic. I thought about the wire I was wearing. Every word recorded. I've got your confession. His smile faded. He reached for his gun. I drew faster. We stood there, weapons raised, neither willing to back down. You won't shoot me, Blake said. You're not a killer. Try me. Kyle's outside in a van. My people have him. You shoot me, they kill him. My world stopped. No, not again. You're lying. Am I? Check your phone. A text appeared. Photo of Kyle, zip-tied in the back of a van, terrified. Let him go. This is between us. Nothing is between us anymore, Dominic. You're going to walk away. Retire. Disappear. And I'll release your son. I lowered my gun slowly. You win. Blake smiled. Smart choice. Then the warehouse doors burst open. Federal agents swarmed in, weapons drawn. Natalie led the charge. FBI. Drop your weapon, Blake. Blake fired at me. I dove behind a crate. Return fire erupted. When the smoke cleared, Blake lay on the ground, bleeding from his leg, cuffed. Natalie ran to me. You okay? Kyle. He said his people have Kyle. We got him. Pulled the van over 3 blocks from here. He's safe. Relief flooded through me. I walked over to Blake, lying in his own blood. It's over, I said. He laughed, coughing. You think I'm the top? There are others. Always others. You can't win, Dominic. Maybe not. But I saved my son. And that's enough. They took Blake away. The network would continue somewhere, run by someone else. But tonight, we'd cut off another head. Kyle ran into my arms outside the warehouse, crying. I knew you'd save me, Dad. I knew it. I held him and cried too. For everything we'd lost. Everything we'd survived. We're going home, I whispered. And this time, I'm never leaving. Both Blake Morrison and Adrian Wolf sat in federal prison awaiting trial. But the network they'd built didn't die with them. 3 more trafficking rings were discovered in the following months, all connected to the same offshore accounts. I testified at hearing after hearing. Congressional investigations. Internal affairs reviews. Media interviews. Everyone wanted to know how deep the corruption went. The answer, deeper than anyone imagined. 17 FBI agents. For federal judges. 12 politicians across 6 states. All connected to the Architects Network. All arrested. All facing life in prison. But there was one person we couldn't find. The accountant. The person who moved all the money, who knew every detail of the operation. According to seized documents, this person used the code name The Keeper. 6 months after Kyle's rescue, I sat in my apartment staring at financial records, trying to trace the Keeper's identity. Kyle was at school, finally back to a normal life. Therapy was helping. He smiled more, laughed more. He was healing, but I couldn't let it go. Couldn't rest knowing someone out there still held the keys to rebuilding the network. My doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. A woman, mid-40s, professional clothes, nervous expression. I opened the door with my hand on my concealed weapon. Dominic Harlow, she asked. Who's asking? My name is Clara Winters. I was Blake Morrison's assistant for 8 years. I need to talk to you about the keeper. I let her in, staying alert. She sat on my couch, hands shaking. I didn't know what Blake was doing. Not at first. I thought I was just processing legitimate financial transactions for undercover operations. She pulled out a flash drive. But 3 months ago, I found files. Hidden files. Everything. Every payment, every account, every person involved. Why didn't you go to the authorities? Because the keeper isn't just anyone. It's someone so high up that if I'd gone through normal channels, I'd be dead before morning. My pulse quickened. Who is it? She looked at me with terrified eyes. Senator Julian Cross, head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's been overseeing FBI funding and operations for 15 years. He's the one who protected everyone. The ultimate shield. Senator Cross, one of the most powerful men in Washington. War hero. Presidential candidate in the last election. Untouchable. How do you know? She handed me the flash drive. It's all there. Audio recordings of him and Blake. Financial transfers. Even emails discussing which operations to shut down and which to protect. I plugged the drive into my laptop. Hundreds of files. Recordings. Documents. Enough to bury Cross forever. Why come to me? Because you're the only person who's taken down corrupt officials and survived. Everyone else who tried ended up dead or discredited. She stood. I've already sent copies to 3 journalists and 2 federal prosecutors I trust. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Smart woman. What do you want me to do? Arrest him. Before he finds out I copied those files. He has people everywhere, Dominic. If he learns what I've done. She didn't finish the sentence. I called Natalie immediately. Within hours, we had a team assembled. Not FBI. Not Justice Department. U.S. Marshals. People Cross didn't control. We moved fast. That night, 20 marshals surrounded Senator Cross's estate in Virginia. I was with them, wearing a vest, weapon drawn. Cross answered the door in a bathrobe, acting confused. What's the meaning of this? Senator Julian Cross, you're under arrest for human trafficking, racketeering, corruption, and about 50 other charges. I showed him the warrant. We have everything. Blake's testimony, Clara's files, your own voice on recordings. His face went pale. Then he smiled. You think you've won. You think arresting me changes anything. There are others. Always others. People you'll never find. People who will rebuild everything I created. Maybe, I said. But tonight, you're done. They cuffed him and led him away. News cameras captured everything. By morning, it was the biggest scandal in modern political history. The trial lasted 8 months. Every day, new evidence emerged. More arrests. More connections. The network Cross had built spanned 12 countries, involved hundreds of conspirators, and had trafficked thousands of victims over 15 years. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Life in prison without parole. I was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. So was Kyle. He squeezed my hand. You did it, Dad. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected. You were brave. That's what made all this possible. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. I made one statement. This isn't about one man or one network. It's about protecting kids. Every kid deserves safety, dignity, and a future. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure they get it. Later that night, I sat with Kyle on our apartment balcony, watching the city lights. What happens now, he asked. Now we heal. Both of us. We go to therapy, we rebuild our lives, and we remember that good people still exist. Are you going back to the FBI? I thought about it. About all the cases, all the interrogations, all the darkness I'd lived in for 15 years. No, I'm done with that life. I want to focus on something different. Maybe start a foundation. Help kids who've been through what you went through. Kyle smiled. I'd like that. My phone buzzed. Text from Mateo Cruz, who was serving a reduced sentence for helping us. Heard about Cross. You're a real hero, Harlow. My nephew would be proud. I texted back. So would your brother. You made the right choice in the end. 3 dots. Then, thanks for giving me the chance. I looked at Kyle, at the city spread out before us, at the future we'd almost lost. Dad, Kyle said quietly, I'm proud of you. Those 4 words meant more than any commendation, any medal, any recognition I'd ever received. I'm proud of you too, buddy. So proud. We sat there in comfortable silence, father and son, survivors of a nightmare, ready to face whatever came next. Together, 2 years after Senator Cross's conviction, I stood in front of a newly built community center in downtown Newark. The sign above the door read, Kyle's Hope Foundation, supporting survivors of trafficking. Kyle stood next to me, now 15, taller, stronger, and ready to cut the ribbon. Media cameras surrounded us. Survivors we'd helped filled the chairs behind us. This place exists because of brave kids like you, I said to the crowd. Kids who survived the worst and chose to keep fighting. You're the real heroes here. Kyle stepped forward with scissors. My dad saved my life 2 years ago, but he couldn't have done it without people who chose courage over fear. People like Mateo Cruz, who made the hardest choice of his life. People like Agent Chun, who never stopped believing. And all the survivors who spoke up, who testified, who refused to stay silent. He cut the ribbon. Applause erupted. Inside, the center offered counseling, legal aid, job training, and safe housing for trafficking survivors. We'd already helped 73 kids rebuild their lives. 73 futures saved. Natalie found me in my new office later that afternoon. The Bureau wants you back, she said. New position. Oversight of all trafficking investigations. Director, Chin has a nice ring to it. I smiled. I'm done with that life, Natalie. This is where I belong now. She nodded, understanding. For what it's worth, you did something no one else could. You took down an entire network. Preston King got life. Blake Morrison got life. Senator Cross got life without parole. 17 other agents arrested. 4 judges removed. The whole system got cleaned out. Not the whole system. There are still others out there. Always will be. But fewer than before. And the survivors have hope now. That's because of you. After she left, I looked at photos on my wall. Kyle at his basketball championship. Victims we'd saved, now thriving. Mateo Cruz, who'd been released early for cooperation and now worked at the foundation, helping other reformed traffickers find redemption. My phone rang. Brooke. We'd slowly rebuilt a civil relationship for Kyle's sake. Dominic, I wanted to say thank you. For everything. For saving Kyle. For not giving up on us. Kyle's the one who stayed strong. He's the reason we're all still here. I'm 6 months sober now. Gamblers Anonymous. Therapy. I'm trying to be better. That's good, Brooke. Really good. We hung up. Some wounds heal. Some don't. But we were both trying. That evening, Kyle and I sat on our balcony, watching the sunset. He'd grown so much. Not just physically, but emotionally. He was wise beyond his years now. Dad, do you ever think about the kids we couldn't save? Honest question. Deserved an honest answer. Every day. But I also think about the ones we did save. The 73 in our program. The 47 from the port. The 7 from the warehouse. Each one matters. Each one is a life that gets to continue. Do you think the Architects Network is really gone? The one Senator Cross built? Yes. But evil doesn't disappear, Kyle. It adapts. There will always be people who try to profit from suffering. Our job is to make sure there are more good people fighting back. You thought about that. That's why I want to become a lawyer. Help prosecute people like that. Pride swelled in my chest. You're going to be amazing at it. Because I learned from the best. We sat in comfortable silence, father and son, survivors, warriors. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. For a second, my old instincts kicked in. Fear. Suspicion. But it was just a message from one of our survivors. Started college today. First in my family. Thank you for believing in me. I showed Kyle. He smiled. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Giving people a second chance. Exactly. Later that night, after Kyle went to bed, I pulled out my old interrogation notebook. 412 traffickers interrogated over 15 years. Each one a case. Each one a story. each one a piece of the puzzle that led to this moment. I thought about Preston Kane, rotting in a cell, finally facing consequences. About Adrian Wolfe, stripped of all power and influence. About Blake Morrison, the man I'd trusted, now serving life for betraying everything we stood for. And Senator Julian Cross, the ultimate puppet master, brought down by his own arrogance. Justice wasn't perfect. Some guilty people escaped. Some victims never got their day in court. But we'd done something significant. We'd shown that corruption, no matter how high it reached, could be exposed and punished. My phone rang one last time. Mateo Cruz. Harlow, just wanted to check in. Tomorrow's my first day leading the peer support group. You nervous? Terrified. These kids have been through hell. What if I can't help them? You've already helped them by being there. By showing them that people can change. That redemption is possible. Thanks, man, for giving me that chance. You earned it. See you tomorrow. I walked to Kyle's room, watched him sleep peacefully. No nightmares tonight. Just a kid dreaming of a future that almost got stolen from him. 2 years ago, I'd been retired, bitter, drinking alone, trying to forget 15 years of darkness. Then one phone call changed everything. One anonymous tip from a man seeking redemption. One moment that pulled me back into the fight. And now? Now I had purpose again. Not as an interrogator or an investigator, but as a father, a protector, a voice for those who couldn't speak. Kyle stirred in his sleep, smiled at whatever dream he was having. Sleep well, buddy, I whispered. You're safe now. Always. I closed his door and returned to the balcony, looking out at the city that had almost destroyed us, but ultimately made us stronger. Somewhere out there, evil still existed. Networks rebuilding. Predators hunting. But somewhere out there, survivors were healing, finding hope, reclaiming their futures. And tomorrow, Kyle's Hope Foundation would open its doors again. More kids would find safety. More families would reunite. More lives would be saved. That was victory. Not perfect. Not complete. But real. I pulled out my phone one last time and typed a message to everyone on our foundation team. 2 years ago, we started this journey. Thank you for believing. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for never giving up. Together, we're changing the world. One survivor at a time. I hit send and smiled. The fight wasn't over. It never would be. But tonight, we could rest. Tonight, we'd earned it. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we'd fight again.